Ocean. The ocean is the body of salt water that covers approximately 70.8% of the surface of Earth and contains 97% of Earth's water. An ocean can also refer to any of the large bodies of water into which the world ocean is conventionally divided. Separate names are used to identify 5 different areas of the ocean: Pacific, the largest; Atlantic, Indian, Southern, Antarctic, and Arctic, the smallest. Seawater covers approximately 361 million square kilometers, 139 million square miles of the planet. The ocean is the principal component of Earth's hygrosphere, and therefore integral to life on Earth. Acting as a huge heat reservoir, the ocean influences climate and weather patterns, the carbon cycle, and the water cycle. Oceanographers divide the ocean into different vertical and horizontal zones based on physical and biological conditions. The pelagic zone consists of the water column from surface to ocean floor throughout the open ocean. The water column is further categorized in other zones depending on depth and on how much light is present. The photic zone includes water from the surface to a depth of 1% of the surface light, about 200 m in the open ocean, where photosynthesis can occur. This makes the photic zone the most biodiverse. Photosynthesis by plants and microscopic algae, free-floating phytoplankton, creates organic matter using light, water, carbon dioxide, and nutrients. Ocean photosynthesis creates 50% of the oxygen in Earth's atmosphere. This upper sunlit zone is the origin of the food supply which sustains most of the ocean ecosystem. Light only penetrates to a depth of a few hundred meters. The remaining ocean below is cold and dark. The continental shelf where the ocean approaches dry land is more shallow, with a depth of a few hundred meters or less. Human activity has a greater impact on the continental shelf. Ocean temperatures depend on the amount of solar radiation reaching the ocean surface. In the tropics, surface temperatures can rise to over 30 degrees Celsius (86 degrees Fahrenheit). Near the poles where sea ice forms, the temperature in equilibrium is about -2 degrees Celsius (28 degrees Fahrenheit). Deep ocean temperature is between -2 degrees Celsius (28 degrees Fahrenheit) and 5 degrees Celsius (41 degrees Fahrenheit) in all parts of the ocean. Water continuously circulates in the oceans, creating ocean currents. These directed movements of seawater are generated by forces acting upon the water, including temperature differences, atmospheric circulation, wind, the Coriolis effect, and differences in salinity. Tidal currents originate from tides, while surface currents are caused by wind and waves. Major ocean currents include the Gulf Stream, Kuroshio Current, Agulhas Current, and Antarctic Circumpolar Current. Collectively, currents move enormous amounts of water and heat around the globe. This circulation significantly impacts global climate and the uptake and redistribution of pollutants such as carbon dioxide by moving these contaminants from the surface into the deep ocean. Ocean water contains large quantities of dissolved gases, including oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. This gas exchange takes place at the ocean surface, and solubility depends on the temperature and salinity of the water. The increasing concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere due to fossil fuel combustion leads to higher concentrations in ocean water, resulting in ocean acidification. The ocean provides society with important environmental services, including climate regulation. It also offers a means of trade and transport and access to food and other resources. Known to be the habitat of over 230,000 species, it may contain far more, perhaps over 2 million species. However, the ocean is subject to numerous human-caused environmental threats, including marine pollution, overfishing, and effects of climate change on oceans, such as ocean warming, ocean acidification, sea level rise, and many more. The continental shelf and coastal waters that are most influenced by human activity are especially vulnerable. Wikipedia. River. A river is a natural flowing watercourse, usually freshwater, flowing towards an ocean, sea, lake, or another river. In some cases, a river flows into the ground and becomes dry at the end of its course without reaching another body of water. Small rivers can be referred to using names such as creek, brook, rivulet, and rill. There are no official definitions for the generic term river as applied to geographic features, although in some countries or communities a stream is defined by its size. Many names for small rivers are specific to geographic location. Examples are Run in some parts of the United States, Burn in Scotland and northeast England, and Beck in northern England. Sometimes a river is defined as being larger than a creek, but not always. The language is vague. Melting toe of Athabasca Glacier, Jasper National Park, Alberta, Canada. Rivers are part of the water cycle. Water generally collects in a river from precipitation through a drainage basin from surface runoff and other sources such as groundwater recharge, springs, and the release of stored water in natural ice and snowpacks. Rivers are often considered major features within a landscape, however, they actually only cover around 0.1% of the land on Earth. They are made more obvious and significant to humans since many human cities and civilizations are built around the freshwater supplied by rivers and streams. Most of the major cities of the world are situated on the banks of rivers, as they are, or were, used as a source of water, for obtaining food, for transport, as borders, as a defensive measure, as a source of hydropower to drive machinery, for bathing, and as a means of disposing of waste. In the pre-industrial era, larger rivers were a major obstruction to the movement of people, goods, and armies across them. Towns often developed at the few locations they could be crossed. Many major cities such as London are located at the lowest point at which a river could be bridged. Potamology is the scientific study of rivers, while limnology is the study of inland waters in general. Wikipedia. Waterfall. A waterfall is a point in a river or stream where water flows over a vertical drop or a series of steep drops. Waterfalls also occur where meltwater drops over the edge of a tabular iceberg or ice shelf. Waterfalls can be formed in several ways, but the most common method of formation is that a river courses over a top layer of resistant bedrock before falling onto softer rock, which erodes faster, leading to an increasingly high fall. Waterfalls have been studied for their impact on species living in and around them. Humans have had a distinct relationship with waterfalls for years, traveling to see them, exploring and naming them. They can present formidable barriers to navigation along rivers. Waterfalls are religious sites in many cultures. Since the 18th century, they have received increased attention as tourist destinations, sources of hydropower, and particularly since the mid-20th century, as subjects of research. A waterfall is generally defined as a point in a river where water flows over a steep drop that is close to or directly vertical. In 2000, Mabon specified that the horizontal distance between the positions of the lip and plunge pool should be no more than 25% of the waterfall height. There are various types and methods to classify waterfalls. Some scholars have included rapids as a subsection. What actually constitutes a waterfall continues to be debated. Waterfalls are sometimes interchangeably referred to as cascades and cataracts, though some sources specify a cataract as being a larger and more powerful waterfall and a cascade as being smaller. A plunge pool is a type of stream pool formed at the bottom of a waterfall. A waterfall may also be referred to as a fosse or force. Formation of a waterfall. Waterfalls are commonly formed in the upper course of a river where lakes flow into valleys in steep mountains. A river sometimes flows over a large step in the rocks that may have been formed by a fault line. Waterfalls can occur along the edge of a glacial trough, where a stream or river flowing into a glacier continues to flow into a valley after the glacier has receded or melted. The large waterfalls in Yosemite Valley are examples of this phenomenon, which is referred to as a hanging valley. Another reason hanging valleys may form is where two rivers join and one is flowing faster than the other. When warm and cold water meet by a gorge in the ocean, large underwater waterfalls can form as the cold water rushes to the bottom. Wikipedia. Fountain. A fountain, from the Latin fons meaning source or spring, is a decorative reservoir used for discharging water. It is also a structure that jets water into the air for a decorative or dramatic effect. Fountains were originally purely functional, connected to springs or aqueducts and used to provide drinking water and water for bathing and washing to the residents of cities, towns, and villages. Until the late 19th century, most fountains operated by gravity and needed a source of water higher than the fountain, such as a reservoir or aqueduct, to make the water flow or jet into the air. In addition to providing drinking water, fountains were used for decoration and to celebrate their builders. Roman fountains were decorated with bronze or stone masks of animals or heroes. In the Middle Ages, Moorish and Muslim garden designers used fountains to create miniature versions of the gardens of paradise. King Louis XIV of France used fountains in the gardens of Versailles to illustrate his power over nature. The Baroque decorative fountains of Rome in the 17th and 18th centuries marked the arrival point of restored Roman aqueducts and glorified the popes who built them. By the end of the 19th century, as indoor plumbing became the main source of drinking water, urban fountains became purely decorative. Mechanical pumps replaced gravity and allowed fountains to recycle water and to force it high into the air. The Jet d'eau in Lake Geneva, built in 1951, shoots water 140 meters, 460 feet, in the air. The highest such fountain in the world is King Fahd's Fountain in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which spouts water 260 meters, 850 feet, above the Red Sea. Fountains are used today to decorate city parks and squares, to honor individuals or events, for recreation and for entertainment. A splash pad or spray pool allows city residents to enter, get wet and cool off in summer. The musical fountain combines moving jets of water, colored lights, and recorded music, controlled by a computer, for dramatic effects. Fountains can themselves also be musical instruments played by obstruction of one or more of their water jets. Drinking fountains provide clean drinking water in public buildings, parks, and public spaces. Wikipedia. I have wonderful memories and photos of water. I love swimming, fishing, sailing, skating, skiing, ski mobiles, and of course ice fishing. In regard to photography, I would go out of my way to photograph city fountains. I just love seeing water sprouting out of the mouths of fish, dragons, buckets, etc. The higher and stronger the better. The fountain in Geneva takes the cake for height, Niagara Falls for power, the fountain in the park for drinking.